Hello, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is April Hom. I'm from Risk and Safety Solutions, and today we are going to discuss the RSS radiation tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and begin by sharing my screen with you. And as you can see, I am signed in to our Risk and Safety homepage, but I am signed into our Mars campus, which is our demo campus. And today I will be signing in as John Voigt. You may also recognize some of the other members of this campus as Academy Award winners as well. So just a heads up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and begin by utilizing the apps dropdown here to navigate over to radiation. And that's going to bring me to the radiation homepage. If I wanted to apply for a brand new RUA, this is where I would come to do it. As you can see, I have that option here. And when I select into the application tab, all I have to do is to type in a description of my RUA request, as well as attach any relevant documents here. And once I submit that, my application will go straight to the radiation safety officers on campus, and they're going to be the ones who will review my RUA and ultimately accept or deny my request. If I've already been associated to RUAs, I would utilize this drop down here to select into the RUA that I want to be working in today. So I'm going to go ahead and use that drop down. As you can see, John Voigt is associated to a lot of RUAs. Today we are going to be working with RUA 881. And it says Halle Berry next to it because that's the name of the PI. And once I'm brought here to the landing page for my RUA, I see all of these tabs that give me different options. So the first tab we're going to look at is the View RUA tab. This is going to give me view-only access into all of the information pertaining to this RUA. Once again, it is view-only access. This information cannot be edited from this tab. So right now, I'm in the General tab. And that's going to give me, of course, general information, such as the type of RUA. I can see that this is a machine use, the RUA number, the PI listed, the contacts listed for this RUA. As you can see, they are John Voigt and Norma Shearer. Whether or not any change requests have been made, the date of the last update for this information. If the department is available, that would be listed there. Whether or not animals will be used in this RUA or for this RUA. And if so, the animal use protocol number will be listed below. Also, any relevant descriptions, precautions, or comments will be listed there. And finally, the date that all this information was entered and who it was entered by, any special requests made, and that will all be available in my General tab. Moving on to the Personnel tab. This is going to list any personnel who are actively associated to my RUA, and underneath that, it'll list any, my mouse is not working very well today, any personnel who have since been removed from my RUA. For each of the personnel listed, you can see their last name, first name, email address, the date they were added to the RUA, whether or not there's a statement of employment, thank you, on file for this person, whether or not they're listed on the RUA, and also if they are a PI. So I can see that the PI check has been checked for Halle Berry, and the radiation contact has been checked for Norma and John. I can see the training status for each one of these personnel. And if any dosimetry has been issued or needs to be issued, that'll be listed here. You can see that Norma Shearer, her name is in red font. And the reason for that is because if you scroll to the right here, you'll see that she has been issued a fetal badge. And that's why her name is in red, as well as she's been issued the neutron badge as well. Okay. And then again, like we said, if you scroll underneath, any personnel who have been removed from the RUA will have that same information listed for them as well. But we don't have anybody who's been removed from this particular RUA. Okay, moving on to the next tab, which is the location tab. And this is very similar in that it'll show you the actively associated locations as well as any locations that have been removed from this RUA. So right now I can see actively associated is the building A, floor 1, room A1. There's just that one room associated to this RUA 881. And 0 locations have been removed. Any documents we have on file will be found in the Documents tab. So again, the statement of experience for John is available here. Any documents are able to be downloaded. And of course, from that point, you can save that or you can print. And let's see, moving on to the Limits tab. That will give you the specific limits of of all of your radioactive materials or any materials that have since been deleted. I see nothing in this tab here. So I'm going to move on to the source material limits. Which again, if you have any source materials, then all of the limits for those materials would be listed here. Any deleted source materials would show the same information beneath. Okay, so those are the tabs that you see across here for the view-only access. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the radiation drop-down to return to the radiation homepage. From here, I'm going to use the RUA drop-down to select into 881 to bring me to my landing page here. So again, we just exited out of the View RUA tab. If you wanted to generate a printable version of the RUA that you just viewed, you'd be able to come here to the Generate tab and do that. And of course, from this point, you can print or save as a PDF for whatever you'd like to do. This is the general information that we just saw from the General tab. Okay, that brings us to the Use and Dispose of Radioactive Materials tab. Now, this is where you are going to be spending the bulk of your time in the radiation solution. So let's go ahead and open up the Use and Dispose tab. Once I do that, I'm going to, by default, be brought into the RAM inventory tab. But as you can see, there are a bunch of more tabs across the top here. And each of these tabs next to the tab title has a little number next to it contained within that circle. So that little number indicates the amount of activity that is happening within that tab. So for example, I'm in the RAM inventory tab. I see a number 7 next to it. So if I scroll down to view my inventory, I should be able to count 7 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 items. So that's where that little number 7 comes from. Now, when I'm looking at my items within my inventory, all of the actions that I can take from this inventory tab, I can open up here to see them. It's a little pencil and paper pad icon here. And that's going to enable me to take any actions for any of those 7 listed materials. Many of these actions are related directly to the tabs across the top that you're going to see here. So let's look at the first option of printing a label. That's pretty self-explanatory. If I want to print a label for this material 6921 that I want to perhaps affix to the outside of the container for that material, then I can do that here. I see the material number, the radionuclide, the initial amount, the lot number, and the reference date here. The next option that I have is to use this material in a process. So let's go ahead and select into that option here. The first thing it's going to ask me to do is to name the process that I'm going to be using this material for. So I'm going to call this John's process A. John's process A. Now it's going to ask me to specify the amount that I want to use in millicuries. That's if I'm going to be using a portion of the material that I have available. If I'm going to be using the entire amount, then I would select this option here that says use remaining amount. I'm going to go ahead and just select to use a portion. And this date picker, this calendar, I can use to use a date in the past or a date in the future for my material to be used or for my process to take place. So I'm going to save that. And as you can see now while it's loading, my in process tab did have a number 1, but that quickly changed to a number 2. Let's look at the in process tab. And I can see that there are 2 processes listed. And the second process listed is John's process A, the one that we just listed. So that's why it increased from a 1 to a 2 because my new process was added. Now, as I am using my material in John's process A, what actions can I take? Let's open up the options that I have here. I can either dispose of this material in a local waste container, or I can transfer this material elsewhere. If I choose to dispose of this material in a local waste container, that's going to be sent to one of the containers that I have available in my following tab. So if I want to, let's go ahead and take a peek into the waste containers tab. It has a little number 4 next to it. And that's because there are 4 waste containers that I have available. I can always add a brand new container if I would like, or I can just send my material to one of my existing containers. Let's send our waste to the solids waste container. So I'm going to go back to my in process tab. Now that I've determined which waste container I want to send my material to, I'm going to go to John's process A, select into the pencil paper icon, and choose to dispose in local waste container. Now, again, I can select to send a portion of what I have, or I can select to send the entirety of my material. So let's select the waste container solids. So we said we're going to do, right? Solids. And instead of selecting an amount to dispose, I'm going to use the remaining amount. Okay. Once I do that, I see that the material is now has been removed from my in process tab. I'm going to head over into my waste containers tab, open up my solids waste container, and I can see it listed in there, or I don't know if you can see that. I can, let's see, view my container contents, and I see my material listed there. From this point, if I want to keep it in my waste container, it's in the right spot where it belongs, and I would just leave it where it is. If I want to return it to my inventory, I can do that as well. I'm just going to keep it where it is. And if I want to look into, if you're wondering why I have materials listed in this row in my solids container, but I don't see any information in the row for the other containers, that is because when you go in to view the contents, there are no contents. They are empty. And that is why you don't see anything listed in the rows for those containers. As you can see, once again, empty. Okay. And you saw that the only other option here, when I do have materials, we already looked at view and editing the container contents. My other options are to create a tag or to request EH&S pickup. These are very similar in that a waste tag will be created for either of these options. Now, our waste tags are actually integrated with our Waste E solution, which is a solution separate from radiation, but that's one in which you can create a waste tag and track all of your chemical or radioactive or biological wastes. And we thought that it would be easier to integrate those two solutions here and to be able to create a tag through radiation rather than to have to close the radiation solution, head over to the waste solution, open that up, create a tag, and then return to radiation. So that's just kind of taking away a couple of steps for you to create the tag here. So I'm going to go ahead and select into the option to create that tag. I'm going to specify the building and room, and remember that we only had one room associated to this RUA, so this dropdown is only going to populate that one room. If I had more rooms associated on my initial RUA, those would all be populating here for me to select into. Then I'm going to specify where within that building, within that room, this waste can be found. So I'm going to say that it can be found in the back fridge. Okay, the waste type, is it a source file, liquid, dry solid, biological, carcasses? Are they mixed? Are they sharps or are they other? I'm going to say that it is a dry solid. Any comments that I'd like to include on my tag? I can. And then I'm going to go ahead and select to create a waste tag. And once I do that, it says, okay, that it's been successfully tagged with a tag number here. And this is where I'll be able to download my tag for the purpose of printing or saving, right? So here's what the tag looks like. Again, it is identical to the tag created in the WasteE solution. As a matter of fact, if you were to head over to the WasteE solution and look up this material, you would see this tag. And it says the physical state, the container size, the material type, the pH level, the waste generator. So in this case, it's RUA 881 with Halle Berry as the PI. So that's listed as the generator. John Voight is listed here because, again, I am signed in as John Voight and I'm the one that created this waste tag. If I had a phone number associated, that would populate here. And of course, the location of this waste, building A, room A1 in the back fridge, the type of container, and again, the EPA address. So that's all available on the waste tag. Okay. All right. So now that my waste has been tagged and it's sitting in my waste container, I can request for it to be picked up by EH&S at any time. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Go back into my options here. And I'm still in my waste containers tab. Okay, and from my options, I'm going to select to request EH&S pickup. Okay, once I do that, then that's going to send the request to EH&S to go ahead and come pick up my waste. Request that pickup there. And then you'll see the pending pickup tab number increase. It went from a 9 to a 10 because now my item is in the listed under the pending pickup tab. I will say that when you are creating a waste tag, whether you are creating it from your waste container or elsewhere, which I'll show you in just a second, anytime that a waste tag is created, that is not something that is editable. So you want to make sure that you are completely certain that you want to dispose of this material and that you are ready for it to be picked up, because once again, once that waste tag is created, it cannot be undone or edited. So again, I'm going to look into my pending pickup tab. And there is my material right there at the top. Now, from all of the items that are listed, you'll probably notice that there is no edit action icon, meaning there's no pen and paper icon to take any actions. And that's because, once again, they're pending pickup, the tags have been already made, so there's nothing that can be edited at all. The only option that you have here is to print your waste tag or download your waste tag. Okay, so we talked about how from your inventory, you can choose a material to use in a process. Then we looked at the in process tab. From there, we used our material and then sent it to a waste container, which headed us to the waste containers tab. We created a waste tag for it and then requested the pickup, which sent us to the pending pickup tab. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to return to my inventory because there were more action items that we had available to us that we haven't looked at yet. So I'm going to look at this material 6921. I'm still looking at the same material. I'm going to open up my options with that pen and paper icon. We talked about printing a label. We talked about using in a process. I see the next option here is to dispose in local waste container. Like I said earlier, most of these options or many of these options are directly related to the tabs across the top, which is why you're going to see a lot of the same options that you can take directly from your inventory. So that means that I can directly from my inventory dispose of my material. It's the same, it looks exactly the same, where I can send a portion or the entirety of my material to a waste container of my choice. So this time, if I want to send it to waste container 1A, and I want to send the entire amount, I save that. I see that my inventory went from a 7 to a 6 because now the material is no longer in my inventory. It is in my waste containers. Let's open the waste containers tab to confirm that. So here's the container that I sent it to, waste container 1A. And I can see it listed here. Or I can open up my pen and paper icon to view the container contents. And I see it here. Once again, I do have the option to return my material to my inventory, which maybe this time I want to do. So let's go ahead and return this material to our inventory. Item number 6921. So I have no contents in my waste container anymore. And if I go back to my inventory, I see that the number 6 is back up to a number 7. And if I click into the inventory tab, I see once again listed at the top of my inventory list, material 6921. So that was just the option to dispose of any material directly from your inventory as opposed to from a process. The next option is to create a new stockpile. So this is the option you would select into when you are trying to create an aliquot from a parent material. So again, I'm in the same material 6921, and I want to separate an amount to create a child material. So the amount to use, I'm going to say, and this is in millicuries as well, not from my volume. That's what I would like to separate from my child material. So the amount to use is different from the volume for a new vial, because the amount to use is the actual amount of material in millicuries that you want to separate to create your aliquot. And the volume for a new vial is how big you would like your container that contains that child material to be. So really, this can be as big or small as you would like, as long as it is large enough to house your child materials. All that matters. I can make this really big. Okay, so now I can see that my inventory increased from 7 to 8 because my 8th material is the one that I just created, my new aliquot, and that should be listed. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my next option. Okay, we created our new stock file. Now, next you have the option to change the location of your material. I'm going to select into it. But again, we only had one building and one room associated. So when I utilize this dropdown, I'm not going to have any other selections to choose from. But once again, if you do have more than one room associated on your RUA, those will all populate so that you can select into which room you'd like to move your material into. You are limited to the ones that have been already associated to you. If you need to add another room to your associated locations, you will have to put that in as a change request to your RUA. Okay. Enter the name of the new location within the room. So I don't want it to be on the front counter anymore. I want it now to be on the side, in the side cabinet. Side cabinet, third drawer. Update my location. And I see here that my material 6921 has been now moved to the side cabinet, third drawer, within the, of course, same room. Okay. And my next option after changing location is to request EH&S pickup. And just like we requested EH&S pickup from the waste container earlier, I can do this, take the same action directly from my inventory. I will say once again that if you request EH&S pickup, it automatically will generate a waste tag. And once a waste tag is generated, that information can no longer be edited. So you can't change your mind about the item being picked up. Okay. Again, the next option to transfer your material will give you the option to transfer this material to either another institution or to another of your RUAs. I can see that there are no RUAs available for this particular transfer, but if I did have RUAs that I was listed on and are available for me to transfer this material to, then I would see that as a drop-down list to select from. If I would like to transfer this to another institution altogether, again, and I want to transfer the entire remaining amount or just a little bit, I would put in that request. Once I save that request, okay, so it'll give me this message here that now my transfer is pending and that the radiation safety officers on campus are going to notify me that my request has either been approved or denied. We're still in the RAM inventory tab, and I think we have one last option to look at, and that is to update your lot information. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to update the information, you would be able to do that here for any of your materials. So those were all of the options that you can take directly from the inventory tab. These are all the options that you have available. We also talked about using materials and processes, sending them to waste containers, from the waste containers, creating tags to be pending pickup. We have not yet looked at the sealed sources tab, so let's take a look at that now. So your sealed sources tab has a number 3, which indicates that there are 3 sealed sources within this inventory, and I can see those here. Each of those materials listed, it looks very much like your other inventory, the RAM inventory, where it has a receipt date, the radionuclide, any relevant ID numbers, the initial amount that you had in millicuries, as well as the current activity, the current net mass in grams, current contained mass in grams, and any relevant reference dates, as well as the locations for these sealed source materials. However, the actions that you can take are obviously very different. It's a very shortened list because you cannot use these in any processes or send them to any waste containers, nor can you create an aliquot from any of these, right? So your only options would be to print a label, request EH&S pickup, and that would be requesting it in entirety. You cannot request a portion of it to be picked up. You can update the lot information, change the location, or request to transfer this material. Those are the options that you have for your sealed sources. The next tab is the pending transfer tab. So this is going to be a list of all of your materials that are pending any type of transfer. So as you can see here, the material number, the radionuclide, the initial amount, once again, current activity, the initial volume and the current volume of that material, the reference date for the transfer request. And here, is it moving from one RUA to another? If so, it'll tell you what RUA it's moving from and which RUA it's being transferred to or applied to be transferred to. Or if it's being transferred from an RUA to an outside institution. So that's the information you would see there in the pending transfer tab. And the requested materials tab. If you've requested any materials, they'll be listed here. And where you would like these materials to be housed. To make a new request for a material, this is one of two places where you can make that new request. So select into new request. And for my RUA, I would like to add a radionuclide. I would like to add P32. And if I want, one of the good things about this solution is that if I were to request an amount that exceeds my limits, so if I wanted to request 200 millicuries, it would immediately let me know that the amount you're requesting is over your limit. And it is in real time. Also, decay rates are in real time as well. So that kind of helps to make sure that I'm making requests that are realistic and within my limits. You can see that was accepted as my requested amount. I'm just going to specify the chemical form where I will be storing this material if I were to be granted this material. And then any additional comments, and then save that request. Once I save that request, it'll be listed here within my requested materials tab. Let's just return to that tab. Okay, so once again, that's the requested materials tab. Next is the limits tab. And this is just going to specify the limits for your inventory. So I can see here for the radionuclides, any chemical form that are not a sealed source, here's my total current activity in millicuries, of course, my total current volume, the millicuries, the amount in millicuries that I am allowed to have per experiment, the millicuries I am allowed per order, and the millicuries I am allowed in my possession at one time. That is the limits tab. And finally, the last tab here is the source material limits tab. So if I do have any source materials within my inventory, they would all be listed here with, again, the radionuclide, chemical form. The sealed source would be checked yes. My total current activity, my total current net mass in grams, the total current contained mass in grams, the net grams allowed per experiment, net grams allowed per order, and net grams allowed in my possession. So that would, those are all of the tabs across the top here within the using and disposing tab option. So now that we've looked at all of the options that we have available in the using and disposing tab, I'm going to once again utilize my radiation drop down to go home. Select back into RUA 881. We already went over the View RUA tab. We talked about generating the printable RUA from this tab here. We just exited the Using and Dispose tab. And again, this is where you will be spending the bulk of your time in this solution. And remember earlier I said, if you want to request a new material, this is one of two areas where you can make that request. This is the second way that you can make a request for a new material. I'm going to show you that it looks identical to the other option or other way that you had to request a material. They take you to the same spot. Okay, I'm going to go back into 881. So that was the requesting order. If you need to make any changes to your RUA, that request will be done in this tab here. And just like the application for the initial RUA, all you need to do is to provide a description for your change request, as well as attach any relevant documents. Submit that, and that request will go straight to the radiation safety officers on your campus. And again, we already looked at the application for the brand new RUA. So that wraps up all of the options that you have here once you've selected into an RUA from the dropdown. Of course, while you're working and any questions pop up, please feel free to refer back to this video, or you can always reach out to me. Your leadership has my contact information, so please feel free to reach out to me or to your radiation safety officers at any time. And I'd like to thank you for spending the time to go over the solution with me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week as well. Thank you. Bye.